Now the world don't move to the beat of just one drum. What might be right for you may not be right for some. A man is born, he's a man of means. Then along come two, they got nothing but the genes. They got different strokes it takes, different strokes it takes, different strokes to move the world. Everybody's got a special kind of story. Everybody finds a way to shine. It don't matter that you got not a lot. So what? They'll have theirs, you'll have yours, and I'll have mine. And together we'll be fine. As it takes different strokes to move the world. Yes, it does. It takes different strokes to move the world. We are the ones who don't know what we're fighting for. Give us a gun and send us all off to war. We are the ones who grow up in violent homes. We are the ones who don't know what's right or wrong. I know. We are the ones who were born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. No more. We are the ones who don't know why we're losing score. Give them a badge so they could send us to the morgue. Yeah, we are the ones who are scared to walk out the door. We are the ones who don't know what we're dying for. I know. We are the ones who were born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck now. We are the ones who were born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. Get off his fucking neck. Don't let me shoot you. He can't fucking breathe. Don't let me shoot you. We are the ones who were born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck now. We are the ones who were born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more.
Warning. This podcast features adult subject matter, adult language, and things not meant for children to hear. Viewer discretion is advised. You've been warned. If it's Thursday, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of appropriate ages, to the latest episode of the I'm No Joe podcast, show where every armchair quarterback can feel like Eddie Bravo. Today, as like most days, I've got my glorious partner in crime here with me to help break down all the shit talking and shenanigan, the fight announcements, and the fuckery that has trickled out the MMA pipeline since we saw you wonderful folks last. Before we get into all that goodness, though, first and foremost, how you doing over there, brother?
Another lovely day, hangover card from hell, and here we go.
That's the damn truth. It ain't pretty, but it's something. That's what I'm going with. Excuse me. So, to kick things off, as we often do around here, a little bit of news and recent events here. Start things off as we unfortunately often have to do, tying back to the previous weekend's events leading into this weekend's news cycle. This one goes back to the PFL event last weekend, where, to quote Dana White, the fight of the night was Marvin Vettori and Brendan Allen getting into a full-on street fight fucking boxing match on the casino floor where they were having their event for PFL there. To be fair, it was better than either one of their matches in the cages recently. So there is that, but it doesn't look like there's going to be any major punishment for either one of those gentlemen, despite looking very fucking stupid as UFC fighters getting in a street fight at a PFL event in the crowd. So, play stupid games, win stupid fucking prizes. Neither one of those dumbasses are getting a title shot anytime soon, and that just kind of confirms it. Why not? So, that being said, it's not the most exciting, but it is something interesting, and I did want to make a point to mention it here. We got the confirmation this week that the Misfits Boxing 18 card coming up on September 14th, going head-to-head with the Sphere for some stupid fucking reason, is going to feature a one-night tournament between a bunch of these gentlemen, and one of the biggest pair of names added to that one-night tournament is Benson Henderson versus Chris Avila. Might be the biggest set of names on the card, aside from the OnlyFans porn star that beat the shit out of Paige Van Zandt, coming to beat some other useless girl in boxing on that card as well. But yeah, gotta be interesting to see what Pettis really has left at this point, because I'm not going to say that Anthony Pettis is completely washed, but at this point, he's trying to do like a Floyd Mayweather-esque victory lap tour and just make some money, and he's just not getting matched up very well, and the fights aren't coming out the way that you would hope a person of Benson Henderson's status are coming out, to put it politely. Avila's not necessarily a world breaker, though, so this might be a fight that he can still come back and actually do something, despite how fucking horrible the shell of Anthony Pettis looked against him. I still think Benson has a little bit more in the tank, and this could be a good fight for him, but at this point, there aren't really that many of those left on the horizon for him to start seeking out. I think it's really time for Benson to start considering, honestly, hanging him the fuck up. Like, I get that he went to karate combat for a while. Now he's doing this fucking misfit boxing thing. He's not taking full MMA damage, but he's still taking damage in every fucking fight we've seen him in recently. And at this point, you don't need to. Stop, dude. Just stop. We'll see, though. We got a couple of holy shit announcements this week. Not a lot of them, but the ones that we did get were pretty fucking big. We got the official confirmation of UFC 307 Salt Lake City's main and co-main event. The co-main event on October 5th, live from Salt Lake City, will be Raquel Pennington versus Juliana Pena for the ladies' bantamweight strap. Everybody kind of anticipated that fight coming. The main event, to the surprise of most of us who've been paying attention here, will be Alex Pereira defending his light heavyweight belt against Khalil Roundtree Jr., who will be coming off of suspension 2 weeks prior to that fight. Interesting matchmaking, to say the least. Why all of this went down in Salt Lake City, I can only guess because other things are already lined up for later on in the year that haven't officially been announced yet, but not exciting, to say the very least. I have a feeling there are more fights that are going to be added to this card, because that is not a main and co-main event to get people excited about, to say the least. We'll see. We did get the closeout for the rest of 2024 from the UFC, which means hopefully during this week off we will have, after this weekend coming up, I can get together a fall Grand Prix session. So those of you who are in the Tapology, pay attention here when we come back, because I might have an announcement, maybe, depending on how quick Tapology updates these dates. But for the UFC's 2024 closeout, October 5th from the Delta Center in Salt Lake City, like we just mentioned. October 12th and 19th, surprise of no one, back to Vegas Apex shows. The big one, October 26th, the second pay-per-view in October. From Etihad Arena in Abu Dhabi, UFC 308, Ilya Topuria versus Max fucking Holloway, probably the biggest card of the goddamn year so far. The following week, November 2nd, from Rogers Place in Edmonton, UFC Edmonton, Blanchfield versus Namajunas. Not a bad card, I will say, so far. The following week, to the surprise of no one, November 9th, back at Apex for a UFC Vegas card. The following week after that, November 16th, UFC 309 is, to the surprise of no one, Madison Square Garden again. It's where they go every fucking year in November. We all knew this was coming. We just had to wait for them to quote unquote officially say it, and now they have. Interestingly, though, the week after MSG is UFC Macau in November 23rd from the Galaxy Arena. So that's going to be interesting. Following week after that, UFC 310, December 7th from T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. Following week after that, excuse me, final UFC show of the year, December 14th will be UFC Tampa from the Amalie Arena in Tampa, Florida. So definitely more Apex than we would hope to see, considering Dana's big spiel about the $20 million renovations that they're doing and all that. But we still are out of the Apex more than we are in the Apex for the remainder of this year. And they said that 2025 will be predominantly out of the Apex. So fingers crossed, this starts that trend, because we are out of there more than we are there for the rest of this year. So we are trending in the right direction. Whether we stay that way or not remains to be seen. That being said, UFC 309 that we just talked about here, MSG got an interesting fight added to it this week. Viviane Araújo versus Karine Silva. I'm here for it. So long as they don't try and squeeze that into the main card, that is a great fight for either early prelims or prelims, either one. Don't try and squeeze that into the fucking main card unless it's really, really, really dry of a card, in which case we've got bigger problems. But good fight. Good fight. I just hope it doesn't take an overly important spot on the roster. That being said, on the other side of that coin, the final card of the year, the UFC Tampa card, December 14th. Excuse me. A fight has been announced. They are trying to get it. The main event as of right now, it is just confirmed as a fight, not confirmed as the main event. But as of right now, Mackenzie Dern versus Amanda Ribas, the rematch, is looking to headline the final UFC card of the year. I don't know if that's a smart move, but it feels like one of those, we literally ran out of time and have to put this fight somewhere kind of matches, and for it to be the potential main event for the final card of the year itself, we'll see. We'll see. But the fight itself is official. It is going down on the final fight card of the year. We'll see if it makes main card or not, or main event rather, or not, as we get a little closer to that time. That being said, sorry, I have to try and contain my excitement, my happiness here for just a moment, because I don't get to do this very often. But to quote Nelson from The Simpsons, a judge this week has officially blocked the formation and broadcast production beginning of the bundled Uber sports service from ESPN, Fox, Warner Brothers, and all of those other ones that we had previously talked about. Interestingly, though, not on the grounds that everyone thought that it was going to be, in the fact that this would be a monopoly. Go lay down, dog. But this one coming from a lawsuit brought on by Fubo TV, and the judge immediately agreed and put an injunction in place to stop the launch of this service until such time as everything can be determined legal and legally viable. No official word on when that is going to happen just yet. This is all early in stages here, like I said, but the fact that Fubo was able to get a judge to side with them this quickly, and publicly put an injunction to stop this service from being put forward almost immediately after it got announced that it was officially forming and in the process of being launched. Between this and the next story that I'm going to talk about here, it gives me hope. So judges apparently had a motherfucking field day this week, and I am here for all of it so far. The next one that we've got here is the fact that we have got an official new trial date set for the UFC antitrust lawsuit. Now, the judge made a point to mention that there is still the possibility of the two sides coming together with a new, more amicable settlement agreement, and it doesn't have to go to court like UFC doesn't want it to go to court. Basically, the judge is saying your numbers were way too fucking low. If you bring those numbers up to a realistic standard, I will allow you to make an agreement. But if not, we're going to fucking court. I don't care how many how many times Dana White wants to scream about, I went to high school with that judge. Then you should have brought that up earlier in the fucking case. You can't cry foul later when everything up until now has been okay because it's been going your fucking way. That's not how the legal system works. If you wanted the judge to recuse himself, you have to have that request in the beginning of the trial, not at the end. You can't eat all of a steak and then ask to send it back because it wasn't cooked the way that you like it. That ain't how the world works, sweetheart. That being said, like I mentioned, kind of the theme of the week, we got another judge this week, kind of surprising to everyone who's been paying attention here, officially overturned a previously ruled verdict, ruling in favor of Manny Pacquiao against Paradigm Sports and their sports representation agency that had signed him when they made such a big deal about Manny Pacquiao and Conor McGregor being under the same management company, making it allegedly potentially more easy for them to put together a boxing match. Well, now we found out they never had the proper license to promote Manny Pacquiao to begin with, which is why this judge has overturned the previously issued verdict. They signed Manny Pacquiao on a hope and a prayer, attempting to get the proper licensing and paperwork after they already had his contract signed, and you can't fucking do that. That's not how the sports entertainment world works. So it looks like Conor McGregor's, because apparently he is owned into or is bought into the representation firm that he works with now. So that's why his name keeps getting thrown all over it. But it looks like they are about to have to come out of pocket a big chunk here, and it's not surprising, and it is the right move. So it's nice to see that come back down. You can't fucking play games like that. Somebody like Manny Pacquiao, not to be disrespectful, but he doesn't have a lot of time left where he is still a viable presentable combat sports option. He is not getting any younger, and the realistic fights that they could make for him are getting fewer and further in between at this point. So I completely understand why this had to go the way that it did. Man, he wants to make some fucking money. He ain't in politics no more. He's still got time to lace the gloves up and make some cash. So at this point, let's see how long it takes before we get an announcement from someone else stepping in to represent Manny Pacquiao and get him a fight. Maybe not before the end of 2024, but I bet we see Manny stepping back in with the gloves on before summer of 2025 at this point, now that he's got everything ruled in his favor. That being said, court cases are the theme this week. This is the last good one, unfortunately, though. But we got official confirmation. There has been a plea agreement reached, and Cain Velasquez has officially entered a no contest in his court case, with part of that plea agreement being that they have officially removed life in prison without the possibility of parole and the death penalty from the table. So there is no option, unless this judge really wants to go way outside of the norm here and reject this plea deal and then still give Cain something extreme like that. Cain should, and I say should, be looking at possibly a short time of time served, or excuse me, possibly a short time to serve plus time served plus community service plus monitored probation is what they are looking for, ideally, for him to get. He is not opposed to serving a little bit more time, but they're just not going to agree to have him doing major time at this point. He's already spent a significant amount of time as well, so he will get credit for his time served. Plus, he's been doing his coaching. He's been doing community service out the ass since he's been out on this release while the trial has been going on. So there's more than enough mountains of evidence to prove towards his character at this point. It looks like, unless something crazy comes out of left field, we should be seeing a reasonable, realistically acceptable sentencing coming down from Cain here in the next couple months, because this plea agreement does change the timeline of the trial itself. So we will absolutely be keeping a closer eye on that story as we get a little more details toward the possible agreement acceptance and then sentencing time.
I love the idea of that. However, it is California, so two possible outcomes here. they could give him a long sentence because there's some dickhead judge. Oh, well, he's in the public spotlight, so he should know better. Yeah, everybody should know better, but that's besides the fucking point.
Right.
He'll shoot a long sentence at him, and then they're going to let him out because California prisons are overpopulated, and they realize what he's been doing is not anywhere near what some of these other people who belong staying there.
Yep.
The other option is they might just, if we're lucky, they'll go, okay, time served, you do some community service, maybe put yourself in an ad against gun violence or something.
Right. Do some type of public promotion to acknowledge and help prevent the situation that brought you into this from happening
Yeah,
again.
like
Yeah.
tell them don't go after child molesters, even though we know you're going to.
It's going to be a gun safety ad. You know, it's going to be like a traveling with gun safety or like carrying a gun safely in a vehicle kind of commercial or something like.
Yeah, it'll be something fucking retarded. But
Yeah.
being as it is California, and to be honest, I don't know the judge in question because I've looked him up, but I don't know him well enough to make an odds on it. But he might be one of those dickheads, which is what I'm worried about. Of yeah, he's not going to get the death penalty, but that dickhead might go, oh, 60 fucking years or something stupid.
Right. That's what I said. At this point, it looks prospectively from all points like things should turn out as amicably as can be, I guess would be the right way to put it in this situation. But there is, like you mentioned, there is still the possibility that this judge decides that he wants to make a fucking name for himself and throw the agreement out the window and still hit him with the heavy, which will cause a fucking uproar to say the very least. But we'll see how that turns out. Kind of an interesting one here before I close out the news with some aggravating stuff. It's a little aggravating, but not nearly as bad here. Doping is not just a problem in combat sports. It is more significant, undeniably, of a problem in combat sports, but it is not the only sport where this happens. And we got a great example of that this week in the number one tennis player in the world. I believe his name is pronounced Yannick Senior, even though it's spelled Sinner, which is extra funny in this article. Despite him testing positive not once, but twice this year for straight up fucking steroids. The first one was close to ball. The second one was a different metabolite from a different steroid, but still a metabolite from a steroid. They're playing the John Jones picogram here. They're saying that his testing came back in a low enough amount that they can't determine it was intentional. So zero punishment, nothing, no fines, no suspensions, no anything. Nothing. Yeah, nothing. Tennis is letting them fucking walk. So
dude was fucking cheating, and they know it. But unfortunately, because everybody's seen the John Jones picogram thing, a precedent has been set where they go, "Oh well, we can't say that it wasn't a tainted supplement or he was knowingly cheating." So a lot of agencies are just going to use that as a way to wiggle their way out of having to do anything.
I was literally just going to say,
but
John set a precedent that other fucking
to the combat sports world's credit, though, they don't give a fuck if it's a little bit or a lot. You're going to get some sort of action taken, whether it's a shortened suspension, even you took a tainted supplement, you still have a suspension because you failed to have your supplements tested or take the supplements that are provided by, say, the UFC
for
free. So there is still some sort of punishment that should happen. It doesn't matter how small or minute the amount is. That means at some point he knowingly or possibly unknowingly took a tainted supplement, but more than likely was fucking doing something dirty that he wasn't supposed to do. And he just lucked out when he got tested, and it was a small enough amount where they're like, well, and waffled on it. I think they need to take a page out of the fucking combat sports book here and actually do something, even when it is a small amount.
Well, look at Khalil Roundtree. Khalil Roundtree took a supplement he thought immediately might have been tainted, turned himself in. He self-reported. He brought the supplement to the fucking Drug-Free America, who's doing the UFC's testing now, brought his supplements to them and said, I think this is tainted, and I'm here to report myself, and here's the supplement. Turns out it was a tainted supplement, so they gave him a reduced suspension. But even if you turn yourself in and bring in the evidence and say, I fucked up accidentally, here's the proof to confirm it, you still get a minimum 6-month suspension in almost every case, just for posterity's sake, if nothing else. You are admitting that you fucked up, but you still fucked up.
Yeah.
Tennis apparently doesn't seem to think that it needs to go that way. They're just going to be like, oh, right under the rug with it.
Yeah, right over the net.
Right. But that being said, unfortunately, like I mentioned, the last news story I've got this week is not quite as happy, but it does need to be talked about here. There have been rumors about problems with this gentleman for a while, but now we know that it is much more serious and much darker than the rumors even kind of led us to believe. UFC former veteran Casey Kenny has been in the headlines for a while now for these rumors that I've been mentioning, that he had some problems in his home life, is the way that we'll put it. Now we know that that's a lot more serious than initially thought, because the police department, the Phoenix Police Department has officially released the records to show that Casey Kenny has officially been arrested on felony counts of kidnapping, aggravated assault, strangulation, and assault charges. According to the affidavit, Casey Kenny drove to his ex's house, took her back to his house, and held her there until a armed standoff with the police got her out. The situation does not look good, to say the least. She was all fucking beat up. There were multiple witnesses that saw the whole fucking thing happen. This is probably going to be the last time we see Casey Kenny not wearing an orange jumpsuit, possibly for the rest of his life. This is not looking good. And if you're that kind of fucking psychopath, you don't need to be a combat sports advocate. This is one of those things that I make a point to harp on, because I don't feel like enough people do. If you have shit like this in your fucking history, I don't fucking care what your fight record is. I give $0 how great your fight career is, because if you're doing shit like this outside of the cage, you don't deserve an opportunity to get in the cage and make money from it. You're a fucking scumbag. Go to fucking jail. Plain and simple. That being said, that's all I've got for news for this week. You got anything over there I might have missed?
I have something interesting that I ran across this week, but it's not 100% confirmed.
Gotcha.
But apparently it's going around in MMA circles that there is a possibility that Stipe is injured for the upcoming Jones-Stipe fight,
Right.
which has not officially been announced yet, even though it's supposed to be November, Madison Square Garden.
Right.
We're 2.5 months out from that.
Real close.
So I'm just saying there's a possibility we may get Jones and fucking Aspinall, unless Jones bitches out because he's been ducking him so much.
The interesting part about that is that Tom did an interview this afternoon in which he said over the last few days, his manager got a message from the UFC asking if he would be interested in weighing in as a backup for the potential John versus Stipe MSG headliner, to which he said, absolutely, because then if anything happens either way, I'm in.
Oh yeah,
So,
and as he should be, because to be honest, the Jones fucking Stipe fight shouldn't be taking place.
Yeah, he should be in that fight to begin with.
We should have never seen him have to defend a fucking interim title, which he fucking did brilliantly, by the way.
With a smile on his goddamn face, you're right.
I'm just saying that needs to be unified. Look, for anybody who's ever watched the Boondock Saints, I'm going to take a little page out of a certain investigator's book here. John Jones is like a scared little bunny. He's a running, scared little bunny. He's just running. He's not doing anything. He's fucking avoiding him. There's a reason why he dropped after the Stipe fight, I'm going to retire. He's fucking scared. He knows it. He knows Aspinall is fucking gnarly. Look, John Jones, yes, one of the most dominant fighters to ever fight in MMA, period.
In his prime, yes.
But he's at the end of his fucking lifeline right now and fighting a guy like fucking Aspinall, who, even after getting his knee blown out, comes back and beats the brakes off of absolute killers like Sergey Pavlovich. I'd be that scared little bunny too, running away. Just run away, hide in your little hidey hole, scared little bunny. Do your thing. I'm not taking anything away from what John Jones has done in his career overall, but right now, there's definitely some ducking going on. He don't want that smoke.
Yeah, that's very apparent, and he can say all the shit that he wants, but his Twitter fingers were running rampant before John had to defend his interim belt, which he shouldn't have had to defend to begin with. And then, to quote a certain inspector here, he watched the Manchester card, and there was a firefight.
Exactly.
So yeah, no, it's very apparent to anyone who looks anywhere on social media at this point that John is trying to, on one hand, maintain his nice guy image, but on the other hand, rely on his resume to not have to fight Tom. But the excuses and the viable reasons to not fight Tom at this point are running the fuck out. And the fact that he has been offered, allegedly, because it's not official, so allegedly Tom has been offered the backup spot, or the weigh-in for backup at the potential Stipe versus Jones fight, just tells me that even the UFC is done playing at this point. Like, if
As
they're
they
going to
should be.
have to make John and Stipe happen, Tom should absolutely be the
John's
backup.
excuses are as thin as the fucking hair on top of my head. I'm just saying, there's a fucking reason. Look, it's okay to be scared, but if you're the fucking current champ, you have to take the fight to unify the titles. It doesn't make sense that we're floating around two heavyweight titles. To be honest, the true title fucking holder right now is Tom Aspinall. Jones is just a fucking ghost. If he was the great fucking guy he is, he would have done like a certain Yuri Prohashka did and say, yeah, I'm injured. Let me relinquish the belt because I don't want to hold up the division. But no, he ain't that fucking guy. He's scared. So
Chickens
hold
can't be
on to
goats,
what I've
John.
got tight because I know I can beat Stipe. But Aspinall, I think I'll retire and just take this belt with me, and then Aspinall can kind of do his own thing.
Yep. Chickens can't be goats, John. Chickens can't be goats. That being said, though, this would normally be the point in most podcasts where you get some bullshit B-roll ad for some company that has nothing to do with the show and a product that no one on the show actually fucking uses or knows anything about. And we don't play like that around here. The I Know Joe podcast is brought to you by viewers like you. Patreon.com/I'm No Joe. For as little as $1 a month, you help us do what we do. And in return, we put your name on the end of every broadcast on this channel as a thank you to let everyone know how much of a badass you are in helping us, as well as getting yourself access, unrestricted access to behind the scenes, unaired, and literally unairable content. The fuckery that happens before the cameras roll, the things that we literally can't put up for public access, and maybe or maybe not the things that might have allegedly got us kicking us off OnlyFans. That being said, little as $1 a month, as much as you would like to kick in above that, whatever the case may be, however you are comfortable helping us, we appreciate you just the same. Patreon.com/I'm No Joe. That being said, normally this would be the point where I go on about how we've got ourselves a young person here on the show that goes out and fingers the pulse of the MMA world for us. But unfortunately, life happens sometimes, and he's not here this evening. So we are going to take just a minute to run down all of the interesting matchups and our opinions on the card. But before we do that, because I keep fucking forgetting, I actually remembered this week, and we are going to go over the combat sports menu for the weekend before we fucking forget. So this weekend, there is plenty to be had. If you just know about the UFC, well, then I'm about to open your eyes just a little bit. If you didn't know what was going on this weekend, strap into your seats because there's plenty to be had. Now, not everything this weekend is great, but there is more than enough overall this weekend. There's greatness to be had. So As is the case more often than not, we start the combat sports menu off first thing bright and early tomorrow morning from the other side of the planet. One Friday night fights 76 because they're on the other side of the planet. 8:30 a.m. Eastern, 7:30 a.m. Central. For all you fucking day worshiping lizards, combat sports with your coffee ready for you first thing right out the gate. This one has just one MMA fight. There is a submission grappling fight and then 10 Muay Thai fights in combat sports gloves. I fucking love that so much. It's such a fucking great rule set. If you just want some combat sports in the morning, there's your fucking bright and early. Kicking off Friday evening a little bit later, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Eastern, is PFL 9, their last playoff run here before the big show $1 million tourney starts to wrap up. And we get ready for that Ngannou and Cyborg major card in November. Definitely some fun fucking fights on this card. A lot of fights that most folks are going to know. So interesting stuff. That being said, there is a pair of these cards going on Friday night, but they're at different times. So I'm going to announce them as they fall through here. So after PFL kicks off, the first Road to the UFC number 5 kicks off at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. These are the Asian fighters who are, it's essentially the Asian Ultimate Fighter series. They're working their way in towards the UFC contract. Some of these fighters have turned out to be pretty fucking interesting. So there's not a lot of name recognition at this point because, like I said, they're trying for their contract. But little something to get you going on Friday here. After that kicks off, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, LFA 190. This is one of those UFC-feeder organizations that we talk about. Sometimes guys get cut from the UFC. They go back there. When they do good in LFA, usually when they get the belt, they get called up to the UFC. So there are several names on this card that even the casual fan is going to notice. Ashley Yoder's getting back in there. UFC fans are definitely going to know that name. She's going to be on the card. There's a couple of names here the average fan is going to recognize. Just giving a quick rundown here. So definitely interesting stuff to keep an eye on over on LFA. After LFA, though, the other Road to the UFC card that I was talking about kicks off at 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 Central. The second set, this one is Road to the UFC 6. That being said, rounding over, starting Saturday's fun off early, 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central Standard Time, KSW 97. This is another one of those European feeder organizations. Sometimes UFC guys get cut and go there. Sometimes their champions get drawn up to the UFC, like we mentioned. There's a couple names on this card that the casuals will still recognize, but the hardcores will know probably a half a dozen fighters on this card, and there's some interesting matchups on there. That being said, the reason for the season, the marquee for the show here, UFC Vegas 96 kicks off at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time from Las Vegas down in the Apex. Cannonier versus Bohalio in the main event. That being said, in the vein of the kid not being here, I'm curious, Golfty, if you have got some cans and contenders here on this very can-filled card that are worth pointing out to the folks listening and watching at home, at least.
I feel like a kid playing video games right now. Not gonna lie. Because as I'm looking at this, if you go onto the UFC's website right now, I just want to make this very clear. It's kind of like playing an updated version of Punch-Out, where there's fighters you can't fucking pick yet. And there's a bunch of them because you haven't ranked up enough. There is multiple fucking hidden characters right now that we don't know who they are. They may be good, they may be not. But they haven't even unlocked the portraits yet. What the fuck are we doing? You gotta tell me one of the greatest MMA organizations on the entire fucking planet can't manage to get a couple of fucking headshots for some fighters?
Especially considering they just had a media day where they had everyone on the main card take specific new headshots for this promotion set.
Which is ironic because there's still fucking 4 fighters on the main card that have yet to unlock their character. They're still not playable. Maybe if you're lucky, you'll get them in a weird fucking one-off fight, but at this point, it's an unlockable character that hasn't been unlocked. Like I said, we're playing fucking video games over here. And unfortunately, I want my unlockables to be the guys like Jared Cannonier, not fucking Ryan Loader or Marion Santos or fucking Jacqueline Cavalcanti. It's just, what the fuck is going on there? Anyhow, other than the unlockable characters who are obviously still sitting in the can bin and trying to work their way out, there's a couple other cans that I do want to fucking throw out there that have been, for lack of better terms, just not great to watch. In fact, one of them is in the premier prelim in Dennis Buzkaka or fucking Kaka. It's fucking garbage.
Trash.
It hasn't done shit. They've tried to give him the push, and he's just not fucking. He's not doing the work you would expect. He comes in, loss, finally gets a fucking win in his last fight out, and that was back in March. But he's not the guy they thought he was. Obvious 3 fights into the UFC. He's 1-3 in the UFC. Why he's got a premier prelim spot, I don't fucking know. Another one I want to add to the list, Edmund Shabazian. That dude who was Ronda Rousey's protege, fucking, he looked good his first couple fights when they were feeding him obvious cans. The second they put him into any contention with anybody, he folded like a cheap fucking chair. It's fucking terrible. Now there are a couple people on here who do have some, I'll say some possibility of getting somewhere. Michael Morales, for example, out of Ecuador. He's looked pretty good so far. I will put him in the contender spot. He's not a world breaker by any means, but he has looked very solid so far in his UFC career. The other one I'm gonna throw here. Actually, I forgot to fucking throw one in the can, so I gotta switch back. Actually, no. We'll take care of that in a minute, because that as a whole is shit. The other one I want to throw up in here, I still think has a possibility of doing something decent, and that is fucking Vajislav Borshev, or however the fuck you pronounce that Russian's name.
Claus.
Yeah, I think he still has potential to be decent. I'm not going to say he's ever going to be champ, but I think he has the potential to possibly make it to at least getting a number by his name. He's just wet. He's just wet behind the ears. That's the problem, in my opinion. He's in the UFC 3 fights now. He's got 1 fucking second round finish. Actually, no, he's more than 3 fights. And excuse me, he's about 6.
He's a couple in,
Yeah, but he's been a little hot and cold. But I think if he can get on a tear, because we've seen what he's capable of, he could do some real damage. But that's why I'm putting him in the contender. I'm not saying he's going to be a world breaker by any means, but I still think he's got some potential there. Now, as a whole, because I missed it earlier, but I'm going to throw this whole fucking fight in the can, is the co-main event in Angela Hill and Tabitha Ricci. The fight that nobody wants to see. Look, Angela Hill had one hell of a throw at media day, and I will give her credit. It looked fantastic. That doesn't mean she's a good fighter. She's been a company woman for a long fucking time. She's, well, I can't even say that because that would be putting somebody else in a bad spotlight. But yeah, no, just not great. Tabitha Ricci hasn't done squat to make anything exciting. This fight as a whole going to be boring. I don't see any reason why this should be the fucking co-main event. To be honest, I would rather see Neil Magny and Michael Morales as the co-main event. I think that's a much better matchup for the co-main, even though Neil Magny's probably going to get the break speed off of him. But at least the co-main would be exciting then. Instead, you're going to get a snooze fest before what I expect to be a pretty good main event, which, in fact, I'm just gonna put that fight as a whole, the main event, in the Schrodinger's contender category.
Yeah, I'm
Because
good with
either
that.
it's gonna be a boring Jared Cannonier fight,
Right.
or Barallo is gonna come out there and those fucking nerds are just gonna off him real quick, fast, in a hurry. So we don't know what's gonna happen. I'm gonna call it a Schrodinger's contender fight. It's gonna be one of those two things.
I can
But
rock with that.
yeah, that's what I've got this week as far as this is concerned. But god damn it, unlock the characters. We want them playable.
Yeah. No, I was talking with a buddy earlier about this. There are literally only three ranked fighters on the, or excuse me, three fights with ranked fighters on this whole card. The main event is 7 versus 12. The co-main event is 10 versus 11. And then Neil Magny is still ranked number 14. No one else on this entire card is even ranked. Now, to be fair, this is a combination of a hangover card off of last week's big pay-per-view and the Ultimate Fighter season finale exhibition fight, I guess is a good way to put it, where they put a lot of the guys who might have looked good during, like guys and gals, I should say, who might have looked good during the show but didn't make it to the finals, or guys who are fighting for an alternate spot or things like that. This is also the fight leading into a week off. So unless it's really great, a lot of these fights aren't generally going to be remembered anyway. So this is one of those cards where they stick in what we love to call contractual obligation matchups. The UFC legally has to offer every fighter on the roster 3 fights a year. If they accept one of those fights, it has to be put somewhere. And because of the UFC's new model, all of those fights get put on a broadcast somewhere. They don't have unaired public prelims anymore. So every one of those fights that gets accepted in the UFC has to go somewhere. And those fights, generally, if they aren't important, either to the title or to the division itself, go somewhere where they just need to fill fights. This is one of those cards. We got several of those matchups. We have several Ultimate Fighter finale and alternate fights on this card. So there's not a lot of general name recognition on this card to begin with. That being said, that doesn't mean there's nothing to get excited about this card either. That Michael Morales Neil Magny fight is my Schrodinger's contender match for this card, because we've seen Michael Morales come out and start to show more and more potential every time we've seen him out there. But we've seen Neil Magny come out and be the definition of hot and cold. He's great one fight, he completely gets his ass handed to him the next. He's untouchable one fight, and then he gets ragdolled in wrestling, which is supposed to be his strong suit in the next fight. There's no real way to tell which Neil Magny you're going to get until the bell rings and he starts going forward. So that's my Schrodinger's contender match for this card. There's only a couple I'm really going to call flat out cans, because like I said, a lot of these are just unknowns. We just haven't seen enough of them to know what they're capable of. One that I am confident throwing completely into the can, though, is the second ladies fight on the card, Josiane Nunez versus Jacqueline Cavalcante. There's no, this is a contractual obligation fight, and I have not seen anything from either one of these ladies to get me the least bit excited about this potential for the fight, no matter where they put this on the card. This could be the co-main event, and I still would not give 2 shits about this fight. Now, ironically, on the other side of things, one of them that I am calling my contender fight of the evening is the ladies fight that they are opening the card with. Kong Wang versus Victoria Leonardo. Undefeated Chinese prospect. Leonardo, highly touted, but not really shown a lot of what she's supposed to be capable of here. This kind of feels like almost a nod towards the road to the UFC cards that are going off Friday, because I believe Kong was originally supposed to be on. If she wasn't originally supposed to be on, she did get one fight on the previous season of Road to the UFC. So she has had a chance to get into the UFC and just now really getting her chance to shine. And now they're putting her in the fight opening card, or excuse me, the fight opening match for this card against Leonardo, who has gotten all kinds of hype and has, in my opinion, yet to live up to it. Better ladies matchup than the other. The one men's matchup that I will say, aside from Morales versus Magny, Shabazian versus GM3, I just honestly don't know what to make of this fight one way or the other. These are both Schrodinger's contenders, in my opinion, here. We have seen Edmund Shabazian come out and look like he has learned from his prior experience. And then we've seen him come out and look frozen the second the bell rings. Same with Mearshar. We've seen him come out ready to snatch fucking souls and take limbs home with him. And then we've seen him come out and get stuck with a jab and then literally freeze up with his hands in front of him and get laid the fuck out. There's no way to tell until that bell rings which version of either one of these gentlemen we're going to get to see. And there's no real guarantee we're going to get to see the best version of both of them. If they had both been on a little bit of a run or at least some type of momentum building into this, I could generally get way more excited about this because name-wise, they both have the potential to be fun. But they also have equally as much potential to shit the bed. And when you throw two guys with that kind of fucking potential against each other, it generally doesn't come out in very exciting fights. So I don't know. There is the possibility this could be fight of the fucking night, and these two dudes could go in there to take each other's heads off. There's also a very good chance this could be 15 minutes of wet blankets running around in circles in a fucking dryer and no excitement at all. There's just no real way to tell at this point. I hope I'm wrong. Like I say it all the time. Please don't mistake me being pessimistic about this as me wanting to see these fights suck. Every fucking weekend, I would so much rather be wrong about all of the fights that I think are going to suck than to be right and watch all these fights suck after I said they're probably going to suck. I would always rather say that a fight's going to suck and see it turn out to be fucking awesome than to tell you here it's going to suck and then sit down Saturday and go, I fucking called it. That being said, I don't understand how we got this fucking co-main event. I won't say that Tabitha Ricci is a full can, but at this point, it's kind of hard to say that she's getting the push that she is for anything other than the fact that her boyfriend is King Callum Walsh, and he is the UFC's golden boy in terms of the boxing push that they give him. All of his fucking fights are on Fight Pass for some reason. He gets more attention during UFC fight nights than the fighters on the fucking card most weekends. And his girlfriend is literally tied right into all of that because most of the time they get pictures or they get videos, she is right there with him. It genuinely, to me at least, feels like Tabitha Ricci is getting more of a push for her relationship with Callum Walsh than she is for anything she has done in the UFC. That's not to say she doesn't have the potential to come out here and have a great fucking co-main event against Angela Hill. We know that Angela Hill is not the type to come out and give up ever. She might not be the most exciting, but she will come out there and try to get you from the opening bell to the closing bell. The problem is that most of Angela Hill's fights go from the opening bell until the closing bell and generally aren't that exciting. And this has the potential to be a very boring co-main event, in my opinion. This feels like one of those fights. Honestly, I would not have been mad if they swapped this and the fucking opening fight. If they put Victoria Leonardo versus Kong Wang in the co-main event, I could understand that divisionally more than Tabitha Ricci versus Angela Hill. 10 versus 11 isn't going to change anything. Two up-and-coming prospects, one as an undefeated Chinese fighter, which the UFC loves, obviously. One, a fucking big mouth prospect. That would have been a better co-main event, in my opinion. That being said, I agree 100% on this main. This is absolutely a Schrodinger's contender of a fucking main event here because those fighting nerds, they have got something undeniable going down there. I can't say with certainty that everybody coming out of that camp is going to go places, but I will say that everyone we have seen so far has proven absolutely capable every time they have had a chance to show it. That being said, I'll put it this way. I have nothing personally against Jared Cannonier. I have nothing against him as a fighter. I have nothing against him as a person. What I don't understand as a fan is how the fuck he has maintained this gatekeeper top 10 fucking final objective status for so fucking long. Every time we see Jared have a great fucking fight, he falls flat on his face immediately afterwards. He has had more than enough opportunities to trip upwards into title fights and fail downwards back to where this fucking gatekeeper position has seemed to just rested him into. He can't fall out of the rankings for some reason, no matter how bad he gets his ass beat, but he can't get back to a title fight, no matter how he looks, how good he looks. And these, supposed gotcha fights, like this very much feels to me. This to me feels like the UFC is not in the grandest sense, but in a very subtle way, trying to give Bahalio a little bit of a leg up. Like if you can get past Jared Cannonier, historically, most people that look good against Jared Cannonier get title fights shortly after. Not immediately, but shortly after. This feels like one of those situations where they're giving Bahalio the option. If you can go out there and you can stunt on this man like others before you have, that puts you in the fast track, that puts you on a short list for title contenders if something crazy happens at the top of the stack. I don't realistically see a world where or a way for Jared Cannonier to steal that thunder for himself, even with a great performance. Even if he goes out there and just flatlines Bahalio in the first fucking round, 25-second clean fucking knockout, and he goes, kill a gorilla scream. I don't think that would even be enough at this point to get Jared back into title contention anymore. I think at this point, he's had too many chances and he's basically locked into the gatekeeper spot. It kind of feels like win and you stay top 10, lose, you stay top 10 for Cannonier. But on the other side of that, for Bahalio, win, you're on the short list. Lose, it looks like you might need a little more work. We'll slow your roll a little bit, if that makes sense. It feels tilted benefits-wise towards Bahalio, but brick wall-wise towards Cannonier, if that makes sense.
I'm 100% in agreement. And I'm, to be honest, since Cannonier got KO'd by Mavov, I'm surprised he's out here. What is this? 4 months later? Because that was in June.
Yeah, just a couple months ago. Yeah. Yeah, no, I completely agree. And this is also one of those situations where we talk about, generally speaking, when you get laid out like he did, most of the time you get a 6-month suspension, no, or like usually it's 2 months, no contact, 6 months, no fighting. You can't take another fight for 6 months. That being said, like you mentioned, he just got knocked the fuck out not that long ago. And now he's main eventing against another dude who very likely could knock him out again. So definitely doesn't give you a lot of hope to build on. But that being said, that'll bring us to the point in the show where one segment actually requires its own individual disclaimer. So if you would. Tapology.com does not in any way, shape, or form support, sponsor, or endorse the I'm No Joe podcast. Yet. That being said, Tapology.com does offer you the option to go onto their site, create a free account, and then make fantasy-style MMA picks like we do here on the show. They even let you make groups, so we made one, and we call it I'm No Bookie. It's all one word, or group 965, however you need to find it. The group is open to the public. You are welcome and encouraged. Get on there, make yourself an account, join the group, and then let us know who you are so we can hold your picks accountable with our picks in a little segment that we call Tapology with TJ.
All right, so we're going to jump right into the show that was last week. And that's all I can call it, was an absolute shit show. Because only a few people in our group got over 500%. Or over 50%, excuse me. You guys understand what I'm saying. But those fights last week did not go the way anybody expected to. There are some weirdos who picked like fucking weird picks that made off like a bandit. In fact, somebody who made off like a bandit with a couple of weird picks would be Vindog, taking home the top spot. 7-12 correct, 405 points. Look, good on Vindog for making those picks, but the rest of us, we were fighting for table scraps. I'm not gonna lie, I felt good. I felt good going into that. The first 3 fights, I had dead to rights. Then the wheels fell off. I got one more fucking pick correct the entire fucking night. nothing played out the way I expected. To be honest, I thought the main event was going to play out the way I expected. I was expecting 4th round KO by Adesanya, and he was looking that way for a good hot minute. And then he fucking blew that one, which also leads me to a little side note here. I think we may have seen the end of Adesanya getting the title back, unless he changes divisions, and even that's a tough fucking call. But to go along with me only getting one pick right after my first 3 correct, I did manage to take the bottom spot from Christian, only because Christian managed to have 4 picks correct and 1 perfect. I had a semi-perfect in there, and that was not enough. So I end up losing, tripping over my dick. To be honest, I'll say this. I took that bastard out, pulled out the fucking 15-pound sledgehammer, and just beat it into a bloody fucking pulp. Scraped it off the concrete, remolded it, threw it under my truck tires, and did a burnout on that son of a bitch. That's how bad it was this week. I'm not going to say anybody else did that much better, because they really didn't. Everybody else outside of Don was the only one other than Christian did do 50% or better. He got 6 of 12. Everyone else was 5 or 4 correct in our group. That is not a normal fucking setting for us. We're generally 80 to 90% of our group is better than 500. It was not this week. But then again, a lot of fights played out really weirdly that you weren't expecting. Not to say that they weren't good fights. They were good fights. But they just didn't play out the way we expected. So, note to you guys that want to join the group. Feel free to join the group. Let us know who you are. We will call you out when you do well. Pat you on the back. We'll call you out when you do poorly. Even like myself. I fucking took the bottom spot. I'll give myself shit. I'm not that way. I'm an equal opportunity hater. That's how that works. No, if you haven't joined, over to Tapology. It's free to create an account. You can join our group. I'm no bookie, group 965. However you want to search for it. If you don't want to let us know who you are, that's fine. Feel free to hop in the group just to test the water, see how you do. If you feel like you're doing all right and you want to let us know who you are, then go ahead. It's not something you have to do, but you can at least go on there and look and see where you are in comparison to the rest of us. But in order to know who the rest of us are, you have to let us know who you are, and then we can tell you who's who in the group there. There's a couple that are kind of dead to nuts, but there's some of us in here where you're just not going to know. So that'll bring us into this week. Talk some odds here. Now, I want to be very clear. There are some really crazy odds this week, which is fucking good for us because I never have enough crazy odds. There's quite a few coin flips on here, and I am not going to touch those. I'll do the co-main and main as usual, but I want to touch on these fairly wide odds here. We're going to start kind of in the middle area-ish is what I'll call it. Actually, no, this is the bottom of the widest cards. That's exactly what this is. So we'll call it that. And that's going to be the Zach Reese and Jose Medina fight. They've got Zach Reese coming in as a minus 600 favorite over a plus 425 Jose Medina. Fairly wide odds there. Not bad. In fact, actually, that wasn't quite the bottom. Let me do one other one that, in fact, is the bottom of the wider odds, and that's going to be the Edmund Shabazian fight and Gerald Mearshart GM3. We got Shabazian somehow coming in as a minus 300 favorite over a plus 240 underdog in GM3 Mearshart. Seems a little odd. Oh, another one that I think is a little bit fucking crazy here. And I think the odds may be a little bit wider than they should be, even though this person is looking pretty solid. And that's the Michael Morales and fucking Neil Magny fight. They've got Morales coming in as a minus 900 favorite. You didn't mishear me. Minus 900 favorite over a plus 600 underdog in Neil Magny. I think those are a little wider than they should be. Don't get me wrong. Neil Magny is not the fighter he used to be. but he's also not that much of a fucking slouch. So take that with a grain of salt. That may be one where you do want to bet fucking on Neil, because there's still a good chance, because he's a crafty vet at this point, that he can make you some money. Now, I want to make a highlight here of a fight that Peter was pointing out earlier. This is the widest fucking odds on the card. Kong Wang and Victoria Leonardo. They have Kong Wang coming in as a minus 1,200 favorite on her first fight in the UFC. Minus 1,200. Yes, you heard that correctly. First fight in the UFC, minus 1,200 favorite. Victoria Leonardo coming in as a plus 750 underdog. How do you like those odds on your first fight in the UFC? They're expecting big things out of her.
There's
So
a reason I mentioned that fucking fight, man. I'm telling you, there's, and to be fair, I have not heard a lot from the greater MMA journalism sphere as a whole about her. This is all personal fucking instinct, personal belief here from what I have seen, what I have found looking into Kong Wang here. That girl's got some fucking potential, man, and apparently even Vegas can fucking see it.
BetMGM is all over this week. Now, those are the widest odds on the card. Like I said, everything else is relative coin flips, so I'm not going to touch on them. I am going to do co-main and main as usual. Co-main, Angela Hill, Tabitha Ricci. Gonna be a boring ass fight. Is a coin flip. Got Angela Hill as a plus 105 underdog and Tabitha Ricci as a minus 125 favorite. It's a coin flip. Now, this is a little bit interesting in the main event though. Bahayo and Cannonier. We've got Bahayo coming in as a minus 250 favorite over a plus 200 in Jared Cannonier. I think the odds are a little wider than they should be. Not because of any specific reason other than Cannonier is a crafty veteran. As much as a lot of us in the viewing world, the fans, don't think he should still be sitting atop the pile when I think he's still ranked like number 5 or some shit, which is crazy. Oh, he's 7 currently, excuse me. But either way, he's still fucking crafty. And he tends to go on a win one, lose one fight. He just lost one, so I think they could have tightened the odds up a little bit. But Bahayo is on a fucking absolute tear, and I think he is the absolute monster out of the fighting nerds camp. Look, there was something I didn't like about the guy at first, but he's fucking growing on me. He seemed there. I don't know if it's his fighting style or the way that he handles the mic afterwards, because he has yet to have a bad octagon interview post fight. He's been spot on, and he seems genuinely friendly, which there was something about him I just didn't like at first, but he's fucking grown on me. He's like a goddamn fungus sitting in that dark space, and it's just growing with all the fucking moisture that's in the air. And I think we are going to see something great out of him, but I still don't think those odds are as close as they should be. So this one might be one you want to throw a little side bet on. But that one I was talking about earlier with Neil Magny and Morales, that's your one if you want to make money and think there's a chance. Is Magny is probably going to be the guy with the widest odds for you to make some money, even though he's the underdog there. So, those are the odds for this week. We'll see what happens when we come back in 2 weeks from now, because we got next week off because there ain't nothing going on next weekend.
Thank you very much, sir. Much appreciated. So yes, like TJ mentioned, we have got next week off, thankfully, because we only get 2 more short breaks before the end of the year. One more, I believe, in November for Thanksgiving, and then there's one more coming up in September. I believe there's a week off in the middle there somewhere. So this is one of the last breaks we get for the year, so we are definitely going to take advantage of that. Like I said, I'm going to try and get together a fall Grand Prix for the I'm No Joe crew. So if you are in on the Tapology and you would like to be in on a potential upcoming Grand Prix, Either message me on Instagram, message me on Tapology, post in the group you would like to be involved, something, some way, let one of us know. Say it in the fucking I'm No Joe Discord server. I'll fucking catch you there because I watch that shit all day as well. Make your account. It's free. Register, join the group. I'm No Bookie or 965. Either way, it's free. Don't cost you anything, and it's all fun. So get in there, get ready for the I'm No Joe Fall Grand Prix that's going to be coming up hopefully here in just a couple weeks. But that is all we have got for this particular episode. But remember, when we wrap it up around here, that is not the end of the fun, because tomorrow morning and most Friday mornings, the kid and his other half drop their podcast, the Slow Bake and Contemplate podcast, over there on Spreaker.com. Links for their podcast as well as their social media and their channel over on the I'm No Joe Discord server, all down below. Make sure you check that out and tell them how awesome they are doing over there. That being said, when that is done, rolling back around one of these goddamn Wednesdays, if I got to drag them by the fucking hair, it's going to happen. The Foggy Fairway is coming back one of these fucking Wednesday nights after a long deserved hiatus. Wednesday nights, 9:30-ish Central Standard Time over on the Golf T Vapes YouTube channel. You can catch us over there making bathtub e-liquid, talking shit, and just generally being obnoxious, but it's a damn good time. So make sure you check out the links down below over there. Catch some of the backlogs from some of the great fucking Saturday shows that we've had over there. Learn about a little bit of bathtub DIY e-liquid, maybe learn a little bit of advocacy, just entertain yourself. There's plenty of good fun to be had over on that Golf T channel, and his social media is down there as well. So get on his ass and tell him to get back to Wednesday nights, motherfucker.
We will get there eventually. Thanks. Now, if you're not aware, and you knowing that there are no fights or kicky punchies to be had next week, then you need something to do. The meter does do more than one thing. In fact, it does many. So if you get on below, Linktree / the meter does many things, or Linktree / I'm No Joe, that'll take you to each and every one of the many things that the meter does do. Go check it out. You've got a week of time. Fill it in. That's all I'm saying. I mean, and if you're really bored, bother him with all his other socials. Just bug the shit out of it. What he really likes, I just want to let you guys know a nice secret. Around 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, he loves his phone to blow up because that is the perfect time for him. Maybe because just before his alarm clock goes off. Just say it's a good idea.
Good luck with that. Good luck with it. No, much appreciated though. That being said, remember, we are not doing recap shows anymore. What we do, because YouTube has changed all their bullshit around, if there is an exciting finish at any point during the weekend from any of these crazy fights that I have messaged you or I've told you about here on the show here for the Combat Sports Rundown and all that good shit, if there is an exciting finish worth seeing, I will record a short clip depending on the organization that it is from. I will either have a still image behind me of the finish or a silent video, because some of those are assholes about copyright. But I will show you all the good excitement that you can have or that you have missed over the course of the week on the I'm No Joe YouTube channel's short tab. So if you go to youtube.com/I'm No Joe, they have blocked it out by tabs. Our live shows are all on their own tabs now, and the shorts are all on their own tabs. All the recaps, even if you don't catch them live, those shorts all stay up live. So you can just go back after the weekend and catch all those shorts to find out all the finishes that you didn't have to sit through the bullshit to find out. That being said, pretty much every Thursday night when there are fights to talk about, we do this live here on youtube.com/I'm No Joe, 9:30-ish Central Standard Time. If you can't make it or don't want to, I get it. I own mirrors as well. Fret not. The week after we go live, the all audio version drops on anchor.fm/I'm No Joe. Pick it up in your podcast consumption platform of choice, Google, Apple, Spotify. We're fucking everywhere. You can literally get this whatever you listen to. That being said, if you like what we get up to around here, please make sure you are subscribed, your notifications are turned on, and you are good to go with all of the goodness that we get up to. You want to help out around here, patreon.com/I'm No Joe. $1 a month gets us a little thank you for you on the end of every broadcast. The opposite side of that coin, though, if you don't like what we get up to around here, first and foremost, what the fuck are you still doing this deep into a podcast you didn't enjoy? Give us a thumbs down and go fuck yourself. We won't even dispute it. That being said, that is all we've got for this particular episode. So until next time, boys and girls, remember, don't let ignorance stop you. You can root for anything. unless it's the Dallas Cowboys. It's 2024. Grow up, people.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kicks were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening.
How do I say goodbye to what we